Hello and welcome to the Honest Property Podcast with your hosts, Rebecca and Ruth.
Yes. This episode is about what not to do. So there are a few points we've been discussing recently about what you definitely need to avoid doing. And I think it's important to know what not to do as much as what to do when it comes to property investing. So look out for these things. So the first thing is, we've noticed it's really easy to become a course junkie.
Yeah, we've known people that have also, you keep on buying a course and then don't take any action at all.
Yeah. Whilst we do advocate knowing over time, like bite-sized, educating yourself without overwhelming yourself, it's easy for you to fall into the trap of continually signing up to stuff and learning about stuff but not taking any action.
Yeah.
And it's a way to procrastinate, and knowledge is key, but you're going to learn so much more by just
actually
going
doing
for
it practically, which is what we did. So we did our course that was like a 3-day course learning about HMOs, distressed property and creative financing. And then we paid for a mentor for 3 days. So we really advocate getting the knowledge before you then get the mentor.
We had a really in-depth education with practical help, but even then you will never know everything. You will never know everything, and we learned so much more just by going it for yourselves. Get a good foundation of knowledge and then keep learning by listening to things without overwhelming yourself, but don't ever let your education get in the way of you actually just doing what you need to do.
You learn by doing it.
I know someone who kept doing courses, kept buying books, kept talking the talk, but it took 2 years before anything actually happened, and it really doesn't need to take that long. The course we did, how long did it take? 3 days? And then like 3 days of mentorship
straight after.
That's less than a week.
Yeah, and then we went straight into throwing ourselves into looking at as many houses straight away. And it did take, because it can take several months, or you could be really lucky and you'll be able to have an offer accepted very quickly. But in most cases, and well, in our case, it took us several months. So we needed to start fast if we wanted to make our investment back.
Especially because the process of buying a property is not a quick process. Even if you had cash, it still takes time to actually get all the legal work and conveyancing and the surveyors and all that lined up before you even can get the keys in your hand and actually start renting something.
And it might fall through. So
the sooner you just get that knowledge, get your foundational knowledge, and I'll just apply it and learn as you go. Continue learning, but don't ever let your learning get in the way of you taking action.
Yeah.
Because property is also a time thing. Yeah. The sooner you get into it, the sooner you're going to benefit because of the law of
the law of life.
The law of life, the law of your asset just going up in value over time. So the sooner you get in, like Ruth and I started when we were in our 20s, and in our 30s we're already able to benefit from those properties now increasing in value. So get that knowledge, just get started.
Action is better than inaction.
And thing is, back to shiny penny syndrome, there's always going to be a new strategy, a cheaper way to do something, a brand new way to make more money out of doing something. But from our experience, and we're going to advocate it over and over and over again, the thing that has stood the test of time, and we've been doing this for 12 years, is bread and butter buy-to-lets. We recommend get your foundational knowledge on building that, and then consider
the other strategies.
There are people who have gone straight into rent-to-serviced accommodation, or serviced accommodation, basically Airbnb, or HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, and they're thriving in that. But from our personal experience, it's better to have build your portfolio sustainably by having maybe not the most cash flowing properties, but they require the least amount of your time and the least amount of maintenance, and that's your buy-to-lets. When there was the pandemic, they were the properties that rode us through. We didn't know if our serviced accommodations were going to survive or not because Airbnb shut down during that time.
Yeah.
So, and they also just require so much more work.
Yeah,
So
but we did have midterm stays at our service accommodation, but it's not guaranteed that
that might not happen again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So get your foundational knowledge on a basic buy-to-let. It's the easiest strategy and the most sustainable strategy. And then entertain the idea of other strategies if you wish, if it suits your lifestyle, like HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy,
Yeah.
like social housing, like rent to rent if you want, like serviced accommodation. But that is a sustainable way to build your wealth. And that's what we really want to advocate. Build a sustainable portfolio first.
And then if you want to leave your job or stop running a business that you've been doing for several years like we did, then that's the way to sustainably get into property whilst owning your assets instead of doing other strategies where you don't actually own anything.
Yeah, it's easy to get sidetracked. So keep your focus on the goal. Learn the strategy that is going to benefit you personally now. And then you can entertain the idea of other strategies if you want, if you have the time. That's basically our ongoing message. The next thing of what not to do. Don't not make offers. Don't not always make offers. Maybe it's an Asian thing. We are very used to putting in cheeky offers for anything.
Yeah.
You can easily go to any marketplace and just offer like half the price of what the thing is meant to be. And you can do that with property too.
Remember that it's about adding value, especially in the short term. If you want to get most of your money out, it's about finding deals that allow you to add value so that you can create the most equity
in a quick amount of time.
Exactly.
And that's the magic of property. So when Ruth says adding value, practically what that means is you get a house that is in a state of repair.
This is what we did. This is why we were able to get a really low mortgage.
Yeah. So you start with a house that needs a lot of tender love and care before anybody is happy to really live in it. So you then are buying a house that is basically maybe the cheapest house on the street. You're leveling it up by making it beautiful, making sure the gas, electric, the walls are painted, the carpet's done. It's a nice cozy property for somebody to live in. It matches the level of all the other properties on the street.
Yeah.
You don't want to create a property that is going to be better than all the other properties on the street, because you're not going to increase the value of it by that much. You want to match you want to be the best house on the street, but you don't want to be that much better. You don't want to put like a palace in a bad area. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not going to make your palace price because of the area. So you make the property to a really good standard, one of the best standards in the street, but don't put don't
do more than you need
to.
Don't throw more money in, because at the end of the day, you have to understand it's an investment and it's not your own home. So do that with your own home. If you've bought your own property to live in and you want to spend way more money, but because you're living in it, then you're enjoying it. But for an investment, you just need to make sure that it's on par with the other properties on the street.
So that is where the value is going to be made. No valuer is going to come to the property and be like, oh, I see you have a palace here. I think it's now multi-million pounds, even though it's in a maybe less desirable area. That's not how it works. Get a stinky property, make it cozy and comfortable for someone to live in, and then remortgage it. The difference between what you bought the property for and the new value is the amount of money you can then recycle into another property and do it again. And that's basically the recipe that we've been rinsing and repeating for the last several years, and in our opinion the most sustainable way to build wealth. So put in offers. Like if you've done your numbers, you've figured out on your spreadsheet, okay, this property is going to work, but it's less than the asking price. The asking price is just a figure that works for the person who's selling, but you don't know their situation.
Yeah.
They might really need the money right now, and they might really need to sell because they're trying to move on to the next stage of life. And they might be in a position where they are not wanting or not needing to squeeze every pound out of the property that they are wanting to sell.
In our experience as well with a repossessed house, the person died, and so the kids needed to get rid of that house quickly.
Yeah,
because they couldn't afford to buy it, so
Yeah. So
they needed to sell fast.
Yeah, and so you could really be helping somebody if you're able to move quickly. Like, time is the valuable thing for a lot of people, more than money.
Yeah.
So even if a house is, say, 150k, just as an example, but on your spreadsheet it says that this property is only going to really work if it's this property is only going to make sense for you to do if you bought it for, say, 110k instead. Just because the asking price was 150, you can still put in that offer. You don't know.
And you don't know if you don't ask, you don't get. And
Exactly.
if they say no, then just
that's fine.
Yeah.
They know the offer still stands. You can keep checking in on them. Be like, has it sold yet? And it may or may not. They might really be wanting to squeeze out everything they could from the property, but it's just not working. You're there with an offer that still holds.
Yeah, you don't know anyone's
can help them.
situation, so
Yeah.
you can be helping someone and you just don't know it.
Yeah. But don't be afraid to put in offers. Don't be afraid to put in offers that make sense for what your goal is with the property. Don't feel
Exactly.
pressured to just give asking price, because
and don't over offer as well. Otherwise, if those numbers don't work on your spreadsheet anymore, and because you've over offered, walk away. It's not worth it unless you're looking to get nothing back out of that property and you're just holding on to it for a long period of time. You could also end up, if you over offer, then that you might not even be mortgageable.
Yeah. What not to do. So the other thing not to do is don't come prepared. I would say, I haven't put it there, but don't come prepared when you're going to do viewings.
Wait, what do you mean? You mean
have a mortgage in principle.
Oh yeah, no, come prepared. You said don't come prepared.
Don't come unprepared.
Don't come unprepared.
Don't come unprepared.
Don't come prepared.
We've just come back from a wedding and we're very tired.
Come prepared, because you're going to stand out, and there's going to be some state agencies who might not even let you view a property if you don't even have
proof of funds.
because you're wasting their time.
Exactly. So always know what your budget is, know what you can afford, and have those finances in place. You do not want to turn up to a viewing feeling like you will have the lower hand if you cannot show that you're able to act sooner than later, because otherwise you're wasting the vendor's time, you're wasting the agent's time, you're wasting your own damn time.
Exactly.
So do not come unprepared.
Yeah, make sure that you've got a good mortgage broker that will be able to help you get those
paperworks in order before you go doing your viewings. If you are looking for a mortgage broker, we are happy to recommend you our own. Just send us a message and we'll send you their details. Okay, the next thing not to do
is when you go and view a property and you love it, but like we said before, you're not living in it. So don't get emotionally attached, because
to be fair, it's like you get a bit addicted. So like, say there's several people from our experience, say there's several people who are interested in the property, and you can see kind of like an auction. You know when you do like an eBay auction? I don't know if you... And then you see people like putting in offers, and then you're like, but I want to win. Don't fall into that feeling. Don't fall into that trap. I said chap because I was thinking of the chimp paradox, you know?
Yeah.
When you're like, you're playing a game or something, you're doing auction, or you're doing stocks and usually they say stocks and shares, and you really want to like win.
Yeah. So just
if it doesn't work, if the numbers don't work, walk away. You never know, that person might have realized they over offered and then back out, and then the vendor might come back to you and be like, can
I
we go with
definitely
you?
remember from when we were looking for our first property, because we hadn't moved out of home and we didn't know what it was like to buy a house for ourselves.
No.
So
Let
it
alone
was an
rent. We didn't even know how to rent a
interesting,
property.
yeah, it was an,
Just
yeah,
bought.
yeah, because we stayed at home and started a business, and we didn't, and investing, and yeah, the goal for us was to build some investments before we left home. So it was an interesting experience for us personally to be looking for houses, and we didn't even own our own.
Yeah. And I think the first instinct when you're doing viewings is you go into a house and you immediately think, can I picture myself living here?
Yeah.
No, you're not living here.
No, because you're not.
You're not living there. If you have a buy-to-let mortgage, you cannot live there. Like, you're never going to be living there. So, I mean, maybe never say never, but it's an asset. You are buying an asset for someone else to make a home, not for you.
But
So
for them.
do not get emotionally attached to a property. The other reason you might get emotionally attached to a property is because you've done all the due diligence.
Yeah.
You've poured in the labor already into trying to make the figure stack, trying to get the paperwork together, and then you do your first few viewings, and then you're like,
This is the one.
this is the one. This one's going to work. And then
it's not really working on paper.
and then the numbers keep rising because other people are putting in their offers, and you need to recognize when you need to walk away.
Especially, it's a lot more pressure as well when you're buying your first property, that you can get. It's a lot of people do get emotionally attached on the first property because it's the first time you're taking
a risk.
yeah. And so you really desperately want it to work.
You want to prove it to yourself. You want to
In our
just get started.
Yeah, in our experience, because we invested so much into our education, we wanted to make that return on investment back fast. And I remember the first property that we put an offer in, we didn't get it, and it was
heart.
What's the
like,
word? It was heartbreaking.
Yeah,
but it was a lesson in there to not get emotionally attached, because and remember that there will be another one.
There will be another one. It's a numbers game. Keep putting offers, even if it's below below the asking price. I would say do it below the asking price anyway, because you never know.
Like, stick to your guns.
Stick to your guns. Make sure the numbers work for you first, and don't get emotionally attached. It's not your house.
It's not your house.
It's not your home. You're not living there.
Get emotionally attached on your own home. I wasn't emotionally attached to my flat.
I think because we know that property gives you the option of flexibility.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not in a point yet where anywhere that I'm living or that I am is a permanent fixture.
This is why we what we want from property is flexibility options and time and freedom. And even with myself and my husband, we're not ready as well to find that forever home.
Yeah.
So I
think also we've been doing 10 years of like looking at properties and just being emotionally detached.
Yeah.
So we're just used to walking into a house and we're like, yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work. On paper it works. Can you do it for this?
Yeah.
No? All right, then on to the next. On to the next. If it doesn't work, just say, that's all right. On to the next. There will be a next.
Keep it simple and don't overcomplicate or overthink.
It's so easy to get wrapped up in your thoughts or get overexcited about particular property because you really want it to work and it's just not going the way that you want it to. Or you look at a property and you're like, I could do this to it. Maybe I need to just do more than you need to a property. But really, simplicity is the best thing. Keep it simple. And you don't need to go over the top when it comes to refurbishing anything. Again, it is not your house. Of course, it needs to look nice, but you don't need to go crazy.
Yeah.
And if the numbers don't work, the numbers don't work. Don't try and force them to work, because you could use, there's obviously more cash flowing strategies like service accommodation or HMO, which is houses of multiple occupancy. But But if your goal was to do, like, this is just an example of like something I would do before.
Close to the mic.
What I would do before is get a buy-to-let property and be like, oh no, the numbers aren't really stacking up as well as they should. Maybe it would work better as a serviced accommodation or an HMO. But now that's veering away from my low maintenance life.
Yeah.
So then it doesn't work. If your goal is time and location freedom, buy-to-lets are the one. But if you're forcing a property to work using a different strategy because you know about it, that's not sustainable either, because that's not what your goal is. Those we advocate knowing about the other strategies, because they should be really your plan B and your plan C or your plan D or your plan E. I mean, we obviously have our service accommodations. They could also be sort of the things you do on top of your stable assets, because you're just interested in doing them or just diversifying your portfolio. But if you're forcing a property to
be only one type of
only benefit you in one way,
then
that is not keeping things simple, is it?
No. Yeah. Also, I want to say as well, like, keep not overcomplicating and keeping things simple. It's like, even when it comes to refurbishment, say you were doing service accommodation, that you also want to be making sure that you stick to the budget. If you're going over quite dramatically, that's like, you've not kept it simple anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially with a creative project like serviced accommodation, it's easy to get carried away.
I can just buy one more pillow. I can just buy one more cushion. I can just buy one.
And then colour curtain, or like, this little artifact would be really cute.
And then it will never be ready.
Yeah, and then and you're losing money by wasting time, because every night that your property isn't rented or booked is income lost. Speed is of the essence. Once you've got your property, get it ready ASAP. Also, we do have a style guide within our service accommodation guidebook. Download it. I'll put the link down below. You could download it. But this style guide basically is our own step-by-step of exactly how we got our service accommodation properties ready really fast from start to finish. And Ruth's record is 2 days.
Yeah.
You can have it all ordered really quickly and get it ready, because like I said, every night that service accommodation in particular is not rented, that's potentially 100 quid gone.
Yeah, it is. So it's like,
if you see it that way, then
to keep being able to keep it simple and not complicated, you've got to make sure that you've created, well, we've created it, but having a cookie cutter approach to business is making sure you just cookie cutter.
Have a system, have your budget, stick to it. Stop looking around you being like, oh, maybe if I did this or maybe if I did that. Stick to what works, what's proven to work, and don't get distracted by going over your budget or like trying something new. Our final point is, this episode I feel like is making us sound like real hard hats. Is that right? Hard hats?
What's a hard hat?
Like deprived of emotion.
Because
we're full of emotion.
We're very
really,
emotional people.
But when it comes
cry
to
all the time.
Yeah. Any Disney movie and we're like,
just life, my period, everything.
But when it comes to business, this when it comes to property, it is a person business. So there are lots of humans that you have to accommodate for, and it is also, but you have to accommodate your own emotions and the tenants and guests that you will be having in your properties.
I want to jump in and say that yes, it is a numbers game. At the end of the day, you've got to make sure that your numbers do stack up for the investment to work, and you have all these exit strategies. But you cannot ignore that we are all human and you're providing homes for humans, and that shouldn't be ignored either, that you are creating homes that is going to give someone a wonderful experience or someone a wonderful home that they can create their own. So it shouldn't be ignored. It is also a big factor, but you can't be completely emotionless in business, even though some of the gurus say like, get rid of all the emotions, but then you are literally a robot, and it just makes you seem like you don't care. And we 100% care in every investment that we've ever made, and our business that we've enjoyed for however long. What should I say? For our business that we've enjoyed, our passion business that we've enjoyed for so many years. And at the end of the day, numbers are just numbers. And business requires having people want to do business with you or want to be part of your investment.
Emotional contingencies.
Yeah.
Factor in the emotion, and along with that emotion, you can have a streamlined process with how to deal with emotions when they get out of hand.
Yeah.
Or not get out of hand, when they're high emotions for yourself, or your tenants or guests are going through their own high emotions.
Yeah.
So factor in a plan for any time that you need to address the human experience.
Exactly. Like that. Yeah. That needs to be factored into the business plan.
Do you have an example?
Like what we did was we got management.
Because
we are very emotional people, and it allowed us to have that boundary with our tenants and guests by having a middle person in between. And that really, really changed everything.
We're quite empathetic people.
Yeah.
So having somebody who had like a management company has their own streamlined process of how to handle when a tenant or a guest is going through an emotional period of time. They've already established, okay, if this person's being destructive, if this person's going through a hardship, if this person is going through a mental health issue, how do we manage that regarding making sure everybody is okay, and how to take care of the asset at the same time.
Yeah.
And then for yourself, how do you manage your own emotional experience, your own human experience? Do you need to take a step back from work? Do you need to make sure you build in breaks, because you are the golden goose at the end of the day, and you got to look after the goose, otherwise the goose is not going to be able to produce any more golden eggs. I don't know if you've heard that story. Should I say the story?
Say the story.
The golden goose story is basically a story about a farmer who had a golden goose, and the golden goose was laying him lots of golden eggs, and he was making lots of money from this golden goose by selling these golden eggs. And then one day he thought, how about I just cut open the goose and reveal all of the golden eggs, so I don't have to just have one egg a day, I can have them all at the same time. Obviously, now that he'd killed the goose and the goose is dead, there's no more golden eggs
being made.
Yes, so factor in, you are the golden goose of your business. If you are not happy, if you are depleted, if you're going through health issues, or
you're now in burnout, you're not prioritizing your own
needs,
there are
no more golden eggs.
You're no longer enjoying certain aspects of your business.
It's your responsibility to make sure you are okay first before you continue with your business. But in
terms of this, without you,
what's this all for?
Yeah, what's this all for?
It's for you, so you can give it back to your family. So factor in, it's not,
you need to be able to keep the asset alive, and by delegating parts of it that are going to disrupt yourself, then it is 100% worth it to delegate parts of your business, of your investment, to keep it alive.
Yeah. So those are our top things of what not to do. Is there anything else you want to add on?
Oh, I want to say as well, going into business with anyone.
Yes.
Don't just go. I think we've heard stories of people who have turned up at networking events and then they've become business partners. Sometimes it works out really well. Luckily, Becky and I are sisters, so we bonded by blood. And it's easy to be very transparent and very straight to the point with no BS with each other.
We don't have to fluff things up
No.
because we know each other pretty damn well.
We're like yin and yang to each other, and it works really well. But if you're looking for a business partner, just be careful. You don't know people's backgrounds, and like really vet people. Take time to get to know the person, like wine and dine, like really get to know
You're marrying this person.
Exactly. It's a relationship for long term, hopefully. So don't
rush into anything.
Don't rush into anything. We have heard of people who have done and it's not gone well. And just because someone has like the same goals as you doesn't necessarily mean that they could be like a long-term fit.
No.
And I say that with like anything in life, really. Just like be really, really wary of who you do business with or invest with.
Yeah.
I want to make that a really big point.
So those are our top what not to do's. It's important to know what not to do as much as to know what to do.
I got another thing to say actually as well. Do not copy people who are not living the lifestyle or investing in a way that's going to give you what you want. And I know it's so easy to look on social media and see people only flaunting like the best sides or showing a certain lifestyle, and you think that you want that, but everyone has different goals and everyone has different dreams. And just because someone is doing, it looks like, oh, that's what success is that really success for you? So just be wary of trying to become someone that you're not, is what I'm trying to say. Is don't, just because someone else is looking a certain way or living a certain way, like be really mindful of what it is that you're absorbing, or was that the right word? Like from like, is that person really who you want to be? Or be like?
I think I said this in the previous podcast, but it was basically there's so many shades of wealthy, and you can achieve financial goals and financial freedom, but make sure it stays in line with what you want. And that also means surrounding yourself with information on media
and people.
Social media and just your network of people who are genuinely becoming the person you want to become, and you're not trying to become a version of yourself that you never wanted to be. I think
it's quite easy to fall into that when then you're so deep you don't even know.
There's many shades of wealthy. Identify what kind of wealthy you want to be, and stick with it, and filter out the rest, because they don't matter.
We grew up and learnt a lot.
I feel like we're wise women now. Wise old women who are only in their 30s. But yeah, that is what not to do. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you have any questions for us, send us a message on Instagram in the DMs, or send us a comment in the comment box down below if you're watching on YouTube.
Goodbye.
Bye. See you in the next podcast.